record on the computer. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Module 6 call, our 6th call of Launch Academy. Well, Module 6 call, not necessarily our 6th call overall, but Module 6. And so excited to be here with you all today here in beautiful July. Hope the weather is well wherever you are. And so we're gonna jump in. Today is really about as much time as possible for questions, for some coaching, going through title, subtitle, headline, talking about your webinar, wherever you are, even if it's back in Module 3 or whatever. So anything from Module 1 essentially through Module 5 is up for fair game. Module 6, if you saw the email from yesterday, Module 6 is up and ready to look at and watch the video. Maybe some of you already checked it out. Intentionally, Module 6 is light. It's really all about the delivery of your webinar. So that's the key thing here, is that your webinar, you've been working on thinking about it, the content of it, the marketing of it, and Module 6 is all about the how do I actually deliver it? What's the formula and the format for delivering my webinar? So really that's it. And there's truly only one document in there, which is sort of my template for you. There's a couple other documents of sort of webinar tips that I may throw in there, but this is intentional because I know Module 4 and 5 is really heavy. It's really heavy to get all that information out to you. And then as we move to 7 and 8, where it gets into the more of the details and the launch campaign, this was very intentional, like, oh, great, I can kind of get caught up. I get it. I know now his formula for the webinar, and it's only one document. So that's hopefully that'll help as we move toward the end of the course to just not put too much more on as we go into the final 2 sessions. So what I thought I'd like to do is start with what I'm affectionately calling pep talk. So it's pep talk time. And the reason for this, I've learned over the last several years with Launch Academy, is by the time people hit into the middle part of the course, Module 4, 5, and then heading down the home stretch, it's a little bit like it's daunting. It can feel daunting. I know that. It can feel like a lot of work, and it also can feel a little bit overwhelming. That's the feedback I've had, over the last couple of years. And I also know that I've shifted this really to be more of a learning experience with some space to do the creative work, and not really meant to be lockstep, like you have to do every piece to finish the course and have your course ready to launch. That just doesn't work. You need to digest it. You still need to learn things in Module 8. And it's just hard to say, oh my gosh, I've got to keep so up on this so I can launch my course in October. Some people are still willing to do that feel really on it and on top of it. But I know many of you, as I've said before, will look to do it into early next year. And that's just because there's so much to learn. And then the fall lets you set things up for a good launch early next year. So I'm just going to say this, is that wherever you are in the course, there you are. John Cabot's in. Wherever you go, there you are. So wherever you are, you are. That's great. So even if you're still working in Module 3 or feeling behind on the writing or the content or setting things up, just know it's fine wherever you are. There's certain things that I've been teaching that if you're not planning to launch until later, you actually don't really need to do right now. So I've taught them, but oh gosh, to have that designer conversation, you probably don't need to have right now if you're launching February of next year. So, but you want to make sure you know that and aware of that so that you schedule that, let's say in September, October. You don't wait until January to do that. So wherever you are, it's totally fine. Just give yourself a little pat on the back. You're here, you're doing the work, and there's no problem for you in terms of I'm behind or I've got to keep up for anything. It's really ultimately, there is no behind in this course. I've really set it up as a self-paced program with some check-in calls with me, helping you stay accountable to doing some of the work. But you get to decide, really, with all the stuff going on in your life, wherever you are is fine. There is no behind in the course. And so you'll get through it in your own time and your own pace. You'll set your own date for your course launch. I do encourage you to set that date, even if it's only 80% solid. There's a power in putting that stake in the ground. So let's say I really want to have the start of my course in mid-February of next year or late February. That's the start of my course, not the launch window, but that's the first session delivered. And then you'll see when I teach this over the next couple modules is then you start working backwards for your launch plan. Okay, great. So I need to have my webinar 3 weeks before that. I need to have 2 weeks before that to have my window for promotion to my webinar. And then I need to have all these other things set up and my page is done by X date. So there's a power in starting with that date and working backward. So no matter where you are in the course, if you're feeling kind of behind, then just put your course launch out into March of next year and just boom. Because there will be a lot of stuff to be done in the fall anyway. It's not like a total breather, like I don't have to worry about it until the start of next year. It just gives you a breather to start thinking about what all needs to get done in the fall for your preparation for your course. And especially your conversations with partners, you know, working with a designer, getting your tech organized, all of that. So what I encourage also as part of this just sharing with you is keep the momentum going though, even if it's just an hour a week of work on the course, you know, where you block just 1 hour. I mean, some of you I'm sure have put a lot more in that in any given week, but just keep that kind of ball rolling. Other than being on vacation, you know, I think the key thing is that there's a momentum to the creativity that if you just kind of keep revisiting it every week really helps to keep things moving, even if you've still got a lot of things to do after the end of the course. And it's fine. Just kind of keep the ball rolling. Stay consistent and engaged with it. Stay consistent and engaged. The number one problem that I see in online courses in general, and especially a longer one like this, is that when you stop for a period of time, like more than a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it's really hard to get that cranked back up. It just sort of just boom, falls. And then a month or two goes by. Wow, I haven't done anything on my course. So I really want you to be aware of that can sort of torpedo the whole process. Just stay focused on something that keeps the ball moving forward. I'm also going to remind you from what we talked about in Module 1, which is that this is a perfection-free zone. So Launch Academy, your work here, perfection-free zone. I declare it as true here is that we get to let go of any sense of getting it right, getting it perfect in terms of all the creative work that has to be done. So it's always better to get something out, right? Get something out of you, pull it out of you, even if you perceive it's not good enough, right? This is the whole classic thing about an author or writing or a proposal or anything, right? You just got to get stuff out of you and then refinement, refinement, refinement. So one of the great lost arts in our current culture is this idea of refining things, refining our creativity over time. It's forgotten. It's almost even shunned. Like somehow this beautiful gem should just show up and pop out of you. And it's like, woo, there it is, perfect, look at that. There is that culture kind of pushes that somehow these great teachers and thinkers and writers and authors somehow just magically have it burst out of them. And for many of them, as you know, if you've had any other projects or written books or any creative project, that there is this first wave and then a refinement and then more editing and then a refinement. So make sure you're just getting it out of you, whether it's title, subtitle, headline, your avatar letter, your webinar copy, just get it out, get it down on a document, and then you can work with it. You can refine it. You can get feedback. So perfection-free zone, keep refining. Be compassionate with yourself. So I know that for me, as I'm working on things, sometimes I get so tight and driven and got to get this done, and that's just not right. I start kind of doing a little bit of self-flagellation, kind of flogging myself. It's not good enough. I'm not getting it done in the right time. And so I just have to remind myself to just breathe and relax and be compassionate with myself that I'm wherever I am in the process. And I still keep the ball rolling, but I'm much more gentle with myself. And then, as I said before, for many of you, if you're not feeling like 100% caught up and really on it, then and not necessarily needing to launch something in the fall, I would certainly plan a launch for early next year to give yourself space to digest everything you're going to be learning through the end of August, and then not feel panicked or rushed to try to launch something, let's say end of October, early November. And I'll just remind you guys, just in the sense of launches, it's very similar to schools in this way, in that schools have the semester or the quarter system, but usually a spring semester and a fall semester. So the best times of the year to launch a course are in the fall, and it's a pretty tight window. It's pretty much October into early November is it. Because if you have a 6-week, 7-week course, you've got to finish before December 15th, right? Because then it's just dead zone. It's not an exciting, nobody wants to be doing the last 2 or 3 modules of your course through the holidays. And you'll get a huge drop off in engagement and all that. So it's a pretty tight window in the fall because you also don't want to launch around Labor Day. You don't want to have marketing activity right around Labor Day. So it becomes this kind of tight window. And then for the spring, you have much more leeway. It's generally course start date. This is maybe the first session of your course from like mid-February into early to mid-May, even as late as June if it's a 5 or 6 week course where you're kind of hopefully ending before the July 4th holiday in the US. So, obviously this is different for different parts of the world, Australia, New Zealand, the seasons are totally flipped, but generally people are looking at the market of North America and Europe as sort of the bigger markets wherever you are. So, you're not trying to create your course just for the Australian market or just for, New Zealand market or even just for the European market, that a lot of the market is North America, Canada, US, and Europe. I'll get to you in a second, April. Last piece. So the last key piece for you is my pep talk is get support. Keep reminding yourself that there's support around you. So you have your buddy in the course, you have your friends and colleagues, you have your partner, your actual romantic partner, or your partner who's also your partner, partner. And you can also get coaching from me, from Jeff and Irene. You see on the course site that there is a la carte coaching to support you. So there's a lot of support to keep you accountable and keep you moving through the process. So just trust yourself, keep moving, even if it's just consistent, slow but sure. Stay motivated, focused, and set that date for yourself, even if it's not until February or March of next year. All right, so that's my pep talk. I know I saw some hands coming up. April, you have a question?
Yeah, my question is in terms of timing, like what time of day, what day of the week, are there times that are better than others or days that are better than others, or is it just an audience thing, or avatar thing? What do you recommend? For the start of a course to like have the sessions every week if they're live? Is that what you mean? Is Tuesday a good day, or Thursday, or Saturday morning, or evenings? It's like what tends to be a good route? Yeah, great question, April. So yeah, I've given you the big times of start of like spring, fall, and then the day of the week is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's it. I highly recommend not doing it on a Monday, and definitely don't do it on a Friday. Now here's the exception is when you start looking at your webinar and hosting the webinar, you want to be able to scoop up as many people as possible. When we talk about the launch plan, that's where you would want to do the webinar, the first live one on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. And then you would want to have the encore on a Saturday possibly. So let's say you did it on a Thursday, your first live one, you're going to do another live encore, and doing that on a Saturday is totally fine. And a Saturday morning Pacific time, so like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. literally scoops up most of the world except for Australia and New Zealand. Meaning Europe, even on Saturday, some people in Europe can at 6 or 7 o'clock p.m. on a Saturday can watch it. And it takes all of North America and all that. In your avatar, the timing of the day does depend on your avatar. So most of you who I get are entrepreneurs at some level, meaning that most of you have a flexible schedule. Even if you have another job, you're probably very flexible with the hours of that. So I like to have a course session at 10 or 11 a.m. my time. So again, it's during the day, you schedule it during the day. People used to do these sessions a lot at 5 p.m. Pacific. So it'd be like 5 and then it'd be 8. But then you would not have any people in Europe can't join the program. So doing that time, depending on your avatar, I think during the day is actually better. It used to be night, and now that's really shifted. Great question, April. So yeah, that was just my pep talk. Any other sort of general questions coming up for you? I've got a few housekeeping items that I want to share, and then literally the rest of the time is open space. Yeah, Tora.
So for the time of day, if middle of the day works if they're doing your course to business people, because they can usually count it as a business expense, right, or business time. But what if your course is geared more to, it's a spiritual course, average person, they're not going to be able to take time off from work to do the course.
Right. Yeah, it's a great question. So then I would just shoot for like 5 p.m. Pacific. It's a very tight window because, again, you hope somebody could get off right at 5 to do that, but you push it too much later, and then East Coast folks, and even when you do it at 5 Pacific, anybody that signed up in Europe, they're out, or they're done. So what I'm noticing is that even at work, people, remember, everything's recorded, so you never have to worry about that. But I think that even at work, somebody can put their little buds in and listen for an hour live from work. So I'm kind of more leaning, even as a spiritual program where people are at work engaged, that an earlier in the day is just better for most people to show up live, including folks in Europe. Now, if your list is so focused on, on North America, you don't have partners that have people that are listed in Europe, then you're thinking mostly North America, Tora. And then absolutely you could think, 5 o'clock or 5:30 p.m. Pacific is okay. Great. Yeah, Laura.
Yeah, so I have an opportunity to do 2 different webinars other than the one that we're doing here, and they're for other people. And I feel like I have a way to parlay like sort of a lot of the skills and tools. And I'm curious if you've had experience with people who have tried to, I kind of basically just want to leverage the thought process of all the work I've done in the modules and synthesize it, because in essence, I have a free reign to do what I want to do. The audience is slightly different. In my avatar is like the 45 to 55, 6-year-old, advanced degree, really smart kind of individuals. One of them is for CEOs. So they're really looking for how they up their game with regard to their own companies, but their own personal performance. And so what I'm realizing is I'm shifting now my avatar focus, not the focus, but my focus around self-leadership with regard to purpose. So I'm going to leave it there, and if you want, we can take this offline. But I was just curious if you had any initial reactions.
I'm not clear on the question. What's the question?
I have 2 other webinars that I can do, and in addition,
what do you mean 2 other webinars? To a certain audience or different content? What do you mean?
No, I can basically use my content for those 2 other webinars. I can customize it the way I want to be doing it. So okay. I'm curious about if you've heard or if you've ever done this yourself, where I have an audience already set up that by somebody else.
Yeah.
I want to be careful, obviously, that I'm not doing a sales pitch, that there's really a value add. But I was curious if you've had experience or clients that have done something of the similar ilk to leverage what you've done.
To leverage, yeah. So, and sorry, I just have to keep asking questions because it's out. So you actually have an audience, somebody else that will bring you the audience, and they're saying, you've got an hour, go create something for this audience. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Got it. Well, then that certainly is all outside of the realm of how do you market and get people from the public to just come into your program. So I mean, I'm not sure if I'm going to answer your question right here, but absolutely deliver some content and then have something free, something very simple that they can sign up for so that you can tag them as they came from that webinar, and then they can get marketed to your course, right? Because you're not going to be selling the course right out of this webinar, are you? Or will you?
No. Well, I would never do that anyway, because to me, it's about, I'm providing an educational service around purpose and how people use it for themselves, teams, and organizations.
Right.
To self. So there's a lot of leverage I can use from the content that I'm going to be delivering for the webinar that we're doing here. I mean, the coursework that we're doing.
Yeah, well, also, I do want to remind you always want to have some call to action for anything that you do with anybody.
Yeah.
So if it is your course, then you just make a very soft sell pitch to it. Or if it's some kind of free white paper or something, you want to be able to figure out how to move that either. And some people even say that your offer is a coaching program or, a free sort of check-in session, a kind of a consultation, free consultation, any number of things you can do. But you definitely, anytime you spend the time to deliver a webinar, unless it's already with an existing client that's paying you money to say, will you do this for us? Then you got to have something that's a next step for those people.
Yeah.
So what would that next step be for this audience that you said is already a ready-made audience? if it's not the course, if the course is too basic for that audience, what would you want to have as a sort of a next step or an offering for them?
Well, I actually think it's going to be varying degrees. I think one of the webinars, it would be absolutely this course that they could easily sign into. The second thing is for the CEOs, they could absolutely sign into this, but it's also the consultation piece is right up the alley, and or resources for them.
Yeah, consultate. Yeah, if you still wanted to have your business is two-sided, which is you're doing purpose work in a consultative or a coaching session. Because I don't know if many CEOs of any side of the company would want to do a 7-week online course. But you have two packages. This is my $10,000 purpose coaching package with you. We do it one-on-one. But for the mid-level manager, the average Joe, it might be that they come into the online course, right?
Yeah.
Or that more mid-level manager, director, or just somebody, you're not even worried about what their business title is. They just feel called to do the purpose work.
Yes.
But I know more senior leaders, they want you. They want one-on-one time with you. So your two biggest offers around purpose are some individual one-on-one coaching with a high-end coaching package, or your course to scoop up just all those professionals you talk about that are in that midlife that we talked about, that they're in that kind of midlife crisis, if you will, that sense of crisis of purpose. And then they might want to do that as a group program. So for these ones, I would say whenever you don't feel like it's the right audience for the course, then have a free consultation. And then that would be a conversation for them to join. And you may have different package levels depending on their level. You have a thing that's a 3,000 and a 5,000 and a 15,000, whatever. And it's about your time, how long they are doing it with you and all that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. I saw, thank you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth says recently saw a study about online learning. 37% preferred recording to listening at their own pace. Yes. Most people, 37%, Elizabeth said that they preferred having the recording than listening live. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Remember, that's under 40%. That still means that 63% would like to have, I always love to flip these. That seems like a lot, but 63% love to have some level of interaction. Or here's the thing, that they know it's available. This is what's such a trick about online course. They know it's available, but they maybe only use it 2 out of the 8 calls, or something like that. But they feel like it's available. It's there for them. Even if they miss it, there's like, wow, I can interact with that teacher and ask a question if I want. So any other questions? And then if not right now, I'm going to do a little housekeeping, and then we'll come back to some open space. And I'd love to also hear some more of the work you've been doing, the title, subtitle, headline, or talk about your webinar. I'd love to have some sharings as well as questions, because the sharings help everybody. So if you want to just share something, get a little light feedback, that's cool too. So I'm going to do a little housekeeping, and then we'll come back to questions. All right, so don't forget that from Module 5, that there is a text box in there to just list your tech platform that you're planning to use. All it is just a little accountability piece that I'm building in, is like saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to use Entreport and Teachable, whatever, those two. Or like Zoom, you could throw Zoom in there. I'm going to use Entreport, Teachable, and Zoom, and you're done. That's all you have to write in there. So don't forget that's in there. I've been on vacation for the last 9 days. So before that was getting prepped for vacation. So I know some of you have sent some things a little while ago. I will work my best in the next couple of days to get back to all of you from on the website. So thanks for your patience there. As I said before, Module 6 is now up on the website. So it's totally focused on delivering your webinar. The retreat is coming up, so super excited about that. I've heard from most of you, I'm going to probably have to send some individual emails to, if you haven't let me know if you're coming or not coming, please do that now, like today. Just send me a quick email. Can't make it. I'm going to make it. There still are a few that haven't got back to me on that, and I just want to know our final count. As you've seen, as I mentioned in a previous email, a couple emails, as well as the last call, there is a coaching support tab on the website now. It's right at the bottom there. It's called Coaching Support. And this is Jeff and I and Irene putting together a la carte coaching packages. It's not part of Fast Track. It's just you can get a package with me, with Jeff, with Irene to get additional coaching support. And this is, just to let you know, here we are kind of heading toward August in the course. We will all honor the coaching sessions with you into the fall, like into September, possibly even if they roll into October, that's fine. I know all of us would like to try to have everything wrapped up for this year by end of October, but so you don't have to do those coaching sessions during the course itself. That package can roll beyond that. So check that out. It's right there on the menu item. And then just want to let you know the fast track upgrade, which has all those bonuses, the done for you pages, plus all the coaching. We're gonna close that out this Friday, July 27th, because we want to make sure that there's at least a month to have some of the coaching done in the course, and some of that might roll beyond. So if you're still interested in fast track and getting all of that support in addition to the coaching, the done for you stuff, and me promoting your launches, then just contact me if you have any questions about that. You can just email me. So that's housekeeping. Any other logistical questions you guys have before we just kind of open the space? Any questions about the course site, the retreat? Oh, and also just to remind you, people have been emailing me about, gosh, I'm kind of behind in the course and the materials. I'll get to you, Tricia, in a second. The materials in the course, as a reminder to you, you have lifetime access to the course website. I don't revoke your password and your name. So, hey, but just know going forward, as I change some things and add stuff, there may be new stuff that goes in there. And when I launch the course again and I have different live calls, those might get swapped out. But basically the materials, the video, all that, you have lifetime access. So again, that's self-paced. If you don't freak out like, oh my God, September, he's going to close the whole site down and I won't have access. All right, Tricia.
Is there a reason that January, like the 15th of January, doesn't work to start a course? You said February. What's wrong with January?
Yeah, and I will just say, some of you, if you've ever been on Marcy Scheimoff's list of your Year of Miracles with Deborah Poneman and Marcy, they are one of the only exceptions to this. So I will say there is an exception. But the problem with that is when you say the start of your course, remember, that's what I'm saying is module 1 gets going. If you're saying the start of your course, you don't want that on January 15th because you need your marketing window and all the work you do to enroll has to come 5 to 6 weeks before that. So you're like square into the holiday time.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. So what you could say is if your marketing window started on January 15th, meaning that's when you have to ask all your partners to start promoting your webinar. And then your webinar is going to be somewhere around the 25th or 26th of January. And then your course will start in mid-February. So just to give everybody that review again is that you have a course start date and you work about 5 to 6 weeks backward to when everything has to be ready. Your web page and your course web page and your webinar page and all that. So then let's say our course starts on the 15th of February, then late January is the first webinar and you'll have an encore too. And then about 10 days before that is the start of the window to enroll people into your webinar. So that's why February 15th starts to be early to mid-January for the marketing window.
And then what about the length of the course, whether it's an hour or 90 minutes or 2 hours? How do you really settle on that?
The course session or the webinar?
Well, the course session.
Yeah, the course session, it depends also, like if it's more like entrepreneurial and business like Launch Academy is, you can do it longer. If it's much more personal development, spiritual, I encourage shorter. But so typically people will do an hour a week of that live call. But what I'm noticing now, and I think it's best practice, is to just tack on your Q&A to the end of your teaching. So anywhere from 75 minutes to an hour and a half per week, letting people know that there's some teaching and some Q&A, not Q&A, but some teaching and some interactive exercises during that hour. And then we roll right into Q&A. So they only have to show up to one call a week and they get both of that. Just to give you the difference here, Tricia, is that some people will actually teach their course in those live sessions, meaning you have your outline, you didn't have time to put a video together and all that, or you have supplemental videos that are very short. So that's what I mean by you're teaching for about an hour and then you're going into Q&A. In Launch Academy, even though I do light teaching, these calls are mostly massive Q&A calls, right? So because everything is there, the documents, the video, the teaching video is there as if I was teaching to it live. So that did totally, like if you did a more of a video and all that, which all you're teaching, you may only have a 45-minute or hour call that is a Q&A per week. And just that's kind of more of a pure Q&A. Does that all make sense? Any other questions coming from that, or is that clear? Okay, cool. Elizabeth, oh, thank you, Susan. Unable to make the retreat. I gotta make a note of that. Where's my pen? Or else I will forget. And then Elizabeth, what about the sessions at the retreat being recorded, made available? Yeah, so here's the deal is for our expert faculty sessions, I am bringing in somebody to record those sessions. And so those will be available. They'll look different because he's going to record somebody in front of the room, the slide deck there. We're going to try to figure out how to make sure either you get the slide deck and follow along, or the video has some editing where you get to see each slide. We decided not to just, each year it is how it is. We really don't have that many people coming. Probably more than half are not coming to the retreat. So we are not going to live stream it, and we are not going to record the whole retreat. But you definitely will get the expert faculty sessions. And so if there's any way you can make it, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff there, a lot of great activities, but you're not going to get a recording of the whole retreat. Cool. Thanks, Elizabeth. Beverly. Oh, thanks, Beverly. Yeah, I had you as a question mark as well, so won't be able to attend. Thank you for that. All right. So let's open it up. So again, here's the options is I would love some sharing, just so you get to kind of bring your, what you're working on forward. So that's great. And then maybe get a little bit of feedback if you'd like that, or any further questions. So sharings or questions are fine. So would anybody like to share? Oh, yes, Jessica. Hello, Jessica. We haven't heard you much on these calls. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've been working on my title, subtitle, and headline.
Okay.
And I'd like some feedback. I've got some great comments already on the Facebook page, but just wanted to open it up to more comments. And I'm going to read right off the Facebook page. If you guys have access to that, you can read it as well.
Great.
But the title I have.
Before you do that, quickly, give us a very quick sense of your content area, just so I know before I even hear, and the avatar, just very quickly, so we know who you're talking to and what you're trying to deliver.
So my work combines posture alignment therapy and wellness coaching.
Okay.
So I help people out of chronic pain and get back into activities. My avatar is generally a distraught person who's been to everybody else for help and really desperately wants to be running or cycling or just out there hiking again, and they can't, and they're devastated, depressed, lost their social connection.
Okay, great.
And they're generally like 30-ish to all the way up to, I've worked with people in their 80s. So middle to later age people. Okay, great.
And are they people that you would say in general are very active, more active than the average bear kind of thing?
Some are just your weekend warrior type people. Some just want to get out and walk their dog or garden. Or be able to lift the groceries out of the car without pain, or do housework.
Okay, got it. Good. So but just to narrow it down, it's just so I know it's not, because some people would say it's much more geared toward the athletes or whatever, and you're really saying no, it's really much more broad than that. It's anybody that's
the
really.
Course itself, yeah, the course itself. I mean, if I had to say, I would say recreational athletes or recreational people that like to be active outside.
I think it's important to know that, again, when you think about your avatar, if it's too broad, you're not able to speak to it. It's like, if you have this, if you do that. I liked it's the kind of weekend warrior, the recreational athlete, where they really feel the pain of that. They love their workout routine. They feel healthier by doing it. So there's a lot more of psychological and mental pain for somebody that really needs that, and it's a part of their life. And maybe they do an occasional race, and they, once a year they do. I think that's a stronger one than just the person that can kind of walk or they can get around something, and they don't have quite the level of pain that we're looking for somebody to take your course. And then
so you know,
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
My business name is the Pain Free Athlete.
Okay, so then you got to stay with that. You got to stay with the.
Yeah.
You're the weekend. You're the weekend warrior, but you get out and you do 3-hour ride on the weekends, or you know.
Exactly.
So I think you need to stick with that. And so we're gonna in a moment hear you talk about title, subtitle, headline, but you've got to write to that. Remember that first part of the copy needs to be your aspiration is to stay healthy and strong and engaged in the sports that you love and the activities that you love, not just the person that walks around the block. You that won't have the same juice. Right?
You're right. You're right. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
And then you'll always get the outliers. You'll always get the outliers. So if you speak right to that sort of athlete, that recreational athlete, you'll always get the other people that say, oh, I kind of aspire to that, or I'm not really that, but boy, this looks like good stuff for me. Right? So right. And they'll just understand it. If you try to write to everybody, it loses some power. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So go ahead. That helps me a lot. Cool.
No, that's great. Okay, so my title, Your Resilient Body, empowering you to be active and enjoy sports for life.
Great.
Discover your path out of chronic pain and back to the energetic lifestyle that your heart desires through alignment of your body and mind. A 7-week online course with Jessica Kissel, MS, author of Winning the Injury Game.
Great. I like it. And April put it up. Thank you, April, so much for doing that. I'm usually like typing away. That's beautiful. So I love it. I love what you got. Let's give her some love with our little clapping here. Great. Jessica, how do you feel about it? I always like to start with you. I think it's great. I think it's that 90% there. And then, then it's just.
It took me so long to get here, but I really like it. I'm really excited. I finally like it.
I like it. That's great. So what do you particularly like, and what is still niggling you? That there's always, everybody has that niggle. So what do you first like about it? What are the most juicy pieces of it for you that you think your avatar would like?
Well, I thought the resilient body really was, because I wanted to not just say, be active. I wanted to make sure that people knew there was this mental, emotional component. And I think I've weaved that in well. And one of the comments I got was it made them hopeful. And that's what I'm all about, because my people are desperate. And the one thing they always tell me is I gave them hope, even if they don't work with me. So that's really important to me.
Yeah, great. Resilient body. Because it's for long-term then, right? This is long-term. It's not just quickly get out of pain. It's not just get out of pain and we hope you don't get injured again. This is building a resilient body, a healthy, resilient body.
And so they don't get injured again, or if they happen to, they will have the tools to take care of themselves going forward. Okay,
great. And then and empowering you to be active and enjoy sports for life. So how do you feel about that? That's your subtitle.
So one of the comments I got was about that sports was a turnoff. And so that's kind of why I was kind of getting kind of watery about that. But I think you're right. I need to stick with that because that is my avatar.
Yes. Got it. Great.
I love the word empowering. That's one of the words I use a lot, that I am not trying to, have them dependent on me. I want to give them the education, the tools so they can take care of their body and not need to be dependent on anyone else. So when they're hurting at 2:00 in the morning, they've got some things that they can do.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. We need the teaching, but we got to take responsibility for our body. And that's what you want, is to give them the tools, the ideas, and how to do that in a good way, but not leaning just on you, but how do they do that for themselves? Okay, great.
Absolutely.
And then discover. So your headline, discover your path out of chronic pain and back to the energetic lifestyle that your heart desires through alignment of your body and mind. And is that your process? Is your process a mind-body alignment? That there's a mental game to this as well?
Exactly. The whole course, the beginning, like my book, the beginning of the course is going to work on the mental mindset around injury and pain and healing and getting that clear and more aligned. And then my work is posture alignment. So. Okay, great.
Posture alignment. So I love it. And you're getting some feedback already in here. So look at the chat as well. And I'll give you I'll kick us off and then we'll get some other feedback. So I like it. I like the resilient body. I'm not quite sure how I hold it. Sometimes there's something possibly missing in front of that. Like you could have a slightly longer title in front of yours. So sort of building your resilient body. I don't really like that. It's sort of bodybuilding, but creating your resilient body, or, something like that, so that you could have a little bit longer title if you wanted there. So just think about that as there's some word in front of that. So instead of just starting your title with your, which is a little awkward sometimes, that's why a lot of books, what you would see is the in front of it, the resilient body. And then your subtitle would have the headline would have the your, just so it personalizes it. So that's a place to go with. I think I'm really liking the headline. I think the area that needs some fine tuning and tweaking is your subtitle. It's not strong enough. It's because if you think about it, empowering you to be active, enjoy sports for life, I'm almost thinking that you could actually use your book, because this is all based on your book, right? To a certain degree, is it?
Yes.
I think you need to put your book title, some aspect of it, into your subtitle. So it's sort of your resilient body, and then something winning the injury, something to win the injury game, or winning the injury game for a healthy body for life, or something like that. Because if you're pulling it on that, and even in the chronic, because you just say discover your path out of chronic pain, that's the only thing that you say there. I don't get that anywhere in here yet that you really want to work with people that are in injury. Like this, what you're saying, the pain that they're in is sort of, they've got some chronic pain or chronic injury. You do say chronic pain, but I want that a little bit more clear, because the resilient body doesn't tell me that enough, and empowering you to be active and joyous does not tell me that.
So I need to weave injury in there. In my mind, injury and chronic pain are so the same that it's hard for me to even see that.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's the right thing exactly to use that title, winning the injury game. I mean, you could almost use that title for your course. Like a number of people here are going to be using their book title as pretty close to the title of their course as well. So I don't know if you wanted to get some feedback again from your avatar, your interviews that you did, or others. You could play with two different titles and just see what the feedback is, without changing too much of the other stuff, to say winning the injury game as the title, which I like the resilient body. I'm just saying. But there is something about weaving that into the subtitle, and maybe you can get some feedback on two different subtitle options. Okay, great. And then just discover. So empowering, and yes, empowering is a good word, but it's also a little overused, just to let you know, Jessica. So I always encouraging people to look for some creative, different ways than just using. So awakening and empowering are the two in the whole personal development, spiritual space, which are like incredibly overused. There is a place to use them in your copy. Sometimes there's a place to use it in your title, subtitle, headline. But generally, if you have something creative like winning the injury game and some variation of that is more interesting than reading something empowering you to be, so kind of just goes out of people's heads. So I love it. I think I'm pretty good with the headline as it is. I think once you finalize and really get solid on the title and the subtitle, you might change or tweak the headline a little bit. And then there's some great feedback here. Just go to the more and do a save. And make sure you save that. Resilient. Activating your resilient body. Great stuff. Managing, maintaining. So there's some good sort of tips here. I like what April said, winning the injury game for lifelong movement or health and vibrancy or something like that. And then we got Shalva coming up, lifelong competitor. So good. I would say that it's that 90%, and now it's just this word. Do we add this, and how do we fine tune the subtitle? And I know you've worked a lot on it, but this is the creative process, getting the feedback.
I'm great. I really appreciate it. Wonderful.
Great stuff. Thank you, Jessica, for sharing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Yay, beautiful.
I just wanted to say something to Jessica.
Yeah, please.
A little feedback. I've worked quite a few years in pain clinics with biofeedback, surface EMG, and with physical therapists. And I worked with some physical therapists who have a number of clinics, half a dozen different clinics. And they've always said, as much as possible, avoid the word pain. Because people who are coming in for pain treatment don't want to hear about it. They want to hear about the outcome, the improvement, but they don't want to be reminded that they're in pain. So I like your title. I like what you've done. And as Chris was saying, just find an alternative word for pain in what you're writing. That may be, injury, recovery from injury, something like that. That may be useful.
Good feedback, Gary. Yeah, and while we're at it, any other feedback for Jessica before we leave her and move on? Any other individual feedback? Yeah, I like that. That's why my intuition is around injury, why the subtitle is putting that there, and then discover your path out of, ongoing chronic injury problems into.
Right. The problem with injury is you could be thinking it's an acute injury versus a chronic injury. And I really more specialize with people that have those long-term chronic musculoskeletal.
Okay, great. Yeah. And I'm taking Gary, I've heard similar advice, but for you specifically, because your headline has a from to, I'm fine if you need to use pain there too, in terms of what I've seen on other pages and all that, especially as an athlete that's thinking about it, not necessarily just an average Joe that's dealing with some kind of chronic illness. Does that make sense? So yes. that your yes. avatar could be pain. Pain's not a word. Oh yeah, I got this knee pain that I just keep, I don't know. And it's because my posture's like this, right? So I'm okay with it, particularly because of your avatar, and that I don't think they'd shy away from it like others might.
Yeah, maybe pain-free would be a way to go.
Yeah, great.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
really appreciate it.
Great.
I just have some confusion that I signed up with WordPress, and I'm used to using WYSIWYG systems, and WordPress is not intuitive. And I've signed up with Thrive system, which you recommended, and I think they're great. But what I find the problem is that they're, when they're teaching, is that they kind of assume you already know WordPress. And when I go to learn about WordPress, the people that are teaching WordPress, the courses that I've found so far, they seem to assume that you already know WordPress. I mean, they know it so well that they're not teaching it well. They're not teaching it, from ground zero. They're just kind of sliding over things. Oh, we'll just take this and slide this over here and do that and blah, blah, blah. So, I feel like I've got 5 balls in the air right now. I don't know if anybody else is having that problem. And we're maybe a third of the way through on everything else. So, I have found someone here in town, community, nonprofit that will teach people for free to work through WordPress. And I'm going to, I wanted to go in there with some sort of understanding of what my issues were and what my questions were, and, to help them sort of be able to teach me faster. So that's basically what I've been doing with WordPress for the last week. I think I'm getting a little bit of a handle on it, but it seems like every time I try to do something, there's some complication that they didn't, cover.
Yeah, great. And I'll answer your question, and I'll come back, Shalva, I'll come back to you. So after we wrap with Gary, Shalva's next.
I'm not even sure it's a question, but you might have some thoughts.
I think it's a great comment / question, because behind it is the question of what do I do? What is all going on? So a couple of things that are really important here, Gary, is I know you guys may want to do it and learn it on your own, but my number one recommendation for everybody is you find somebody to do it for you. And there's so many resources out there to do that. It's people cheap, so you could go online. I know that Shalva mentioned check out lynda.com for more learning about doing it. But also, have you checked out finding a web designer creator yet for helping you do it?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that this community workshop, he's a web designer. He teaches the class for free to get people up and running on WordPress.
But why would you? So for example, I'm not that great at WordPress. So I have Therese and a couple other people, Hike, who's in Argentina for me. I don't do it myself.
Right.
So are you planning to do it yourself, or you're planning to hire somebody?
I may, because I've done some website design. I've got some background in computer science.
Okay.
It's just a matter of a learning curve, you know, and how quickly I can kind of piece these things together. Like I say, I've worked with WYSIWYG systems in the past, which are, you know, just drag and drop, and they're very intuitive and very easy.
Yeah.
Whereas WordPress is not.
Well, a couple of things for everybody here is, well, Thrive Architect has the Thrive theme. So if you pick a certain theme, it is a drag and drop, and it's way better to use. It's very close to WYSIWYG. So that's one. Certainly using lynda.com or YouTube to educate you. There is lots. Just search for how do I build a WordPress site. So when you say they already expect that, that's not my experience. If you go to YouTube and say training video on how to do stuff on WordPress, you will get very basic videos of you do this and you pull this and you pull this menu down. So if you want to learn, there's lots of learning resources. Lynda.com is a great one.
Lynda?
Yeah, LYNDA. It's in the chat there. It's just one of those big platforms that has a lot of free courses, if you will, little mini courses. They're all just video courses, that kind of thing, all on different topics and such. So you could do some of your own learning that way. You could get mentoring from somebody who's, you know, willing to do some teaching very, very on the cheap in person. And then the other thing for many of you is if WordPress, if you don't want to use WordPress and there's a lot of support around it, and you would rather go with something like either Entreport certainly, or Kajabi. Those are set up so that the landing pages that you need to create are already set. So I just like the flexibility of WordPress. I like building things like Access Ally, all the plugins that it has for WordPress. But for those that are really like technophobic, I would say Kajabi or Entreport, and use all the landing pages that are in there that is just put an image in, put some copy in, boom, and there you go. The problem is it doesn't necessarily look that good. You still have to go in, right? You know, you have to go in and have somebody that's really expert in those systems to go, no, you can do this, you can do that. But simplicity, just to get it launched is the big thing. So I would say that what are you planning to use as your back end, Gary, you know, for your email marketing and all that stuff?
You know, I'm planning on using Kajabi, but I haven't really thought about a back end, you know, for email. You know, what do you find blends well with Kajabi?
Yeah, well, so there's nothing, you don't need any. So what I've said before, and I'll say it again, Kajabi is now trying to be truly a one-stop shop. It would be everything you need, from the email to the managing your affiliate partners, to the pages that you'd set up, to your checkout carts. So that literally, but you've already made a decision to go to, you know, to WordPress. But if you said, you know, this is too much, you could build everything in Kajabi. You would not need WordPress. You would not need Entreport or any of those other ones. Just know it's a little bit more basic than what the other programs give.
Well, that would be, you know, I like that because we'd already planned on Kajabi, and I know they have a 28-day, or they used to, I don't know if they still have it, a 28-day free, you know,
right.
Everything.
Get it up on the site.
You said you had some sort of, you know, arrangement with them for a discount or something.
No, that's the challenge. That's why, I mean, I recommend it, but I will tell you, I recommend it without, I get nothing for it. They don't have an affiliate program, which I'm sad about, because I would, you know, talk it to the cows come home too, but they don't. So I certainly recommend it, but I don't have any deal or discount that I can get, and I don't have an affiliate program.
Okay. Yeah. So that, you know, I'm glad to hear that, because I can set WordPress aside. You know, I have Thrive for 90 days to play with that. And, you know, I might just get stuff going, because we want to get something up by October, end of October. Just a beginning launch of some sort. And I don't know when our classes will start, but, you know, at least something in place.
Yeah. And that's the only thing to remember. If you're WordPress and you're still thinking about what is your email platform, remember that can be Entreport, Infusionsoft, ActiveCampaign, GetResponse.
Right.
Though you've got to make sure you have an affiliate management part of the program. So if you're going with WordPress, let's just say you did that, then you need to be thinking about Entreport, which I can get you a great deal for you guys on, Infusionsoft, or something like even ActiveCampaign. The challenge is with you start using like just WordPress and Access Ally, and if you use ActiveCampaign or GetResponse, there is no affiliate module in there. You know, there's no, you have to go out and find now a third-party plugin for WordPress to track your affiliates.
Okay.
So for ease, for everybody that says ease is either Kajabi is kind of a one-stop shop, but not as robust, or something like Entreport with Teachable, or even, you know, Entreport possibly with Access Ally. Because Entreport will have everything you need, even landing pages and stuff, right? It just won't have where you house the course. Does that make sense? And Kajabi is where you house the course, you have the email marketing, you have the landing pages that you need. It's literally all that kind of one-stop shop.
Okay, so I might just go that route and put WordPress to one side and take my time, so that maybe next year, you know, we can actually begin to work with WordPress for more complex.
Right, more beautiful sites, more complex. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, it's great.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I think Kajabi is great for all of you guys to just get started on kind of a one-stop shop platform. Cool. Let's go back. I want to make sure. Shalva. I know there's some other questions here, but let's come back to you, Shalva, and go through what you want to share, and then we'll.
I don't know that I had a specific question actually. Maybe you saw me raise my hand, but
Well, you wrote something in here. I like Chris. But sorry. Yeah. Did you want to share something? Your stuff though, right now?
I can.
Yeah, that would be great. And do you want to share your title, subtitle, headline of your course, and then what you're thinking about for your webinar to kind of model that for all of us?
Yeah, actually, that would be a question. I just want to kind of follow up here with the Kajabi story. Just
okay,
before we finish topics here, just because you know, I've done a lot of research on this myself, and there's not to throw another option into the mix for everybody, but I've come across something that's fairly new that's kind of rivaling ClickFunnels right now. Called Kartra. I don't know if you've heard of it or not yet.
Yeah, I have. They're brand new out of the gate, but yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm debating, I'm not going to close down my WordPress site or anything, but I'm thinking about trying that out for my first run of my course just to see, because it is kind of along the Kajabi of a one-stop shop with the email and the landing pages and the affiliates and the video hosting. And it really does do everything for you. But I was kind of curious to hear if you had any feedback or seen any.
Yeah, I know the guys who created, they're the same creators of Webinar Jam.
Right.
And they created Kartra. Again, they're kind of trying to keep ahead of the curve. And I got to tell you, I don't recommend stuff that I haven't heard a whole lot of positive stories, you know. So fresh out of the gate, they've just launched Kartra. I have had some challenges with Webinar Jam in the past, you know, where they created it and they added features and did stuff and it broke and it didn't work and things. So I'm very nervous about a new platform. And even Kajabi, I was more hesitant a year or two ago. And I know how much they've invested in it and how much money they now have behind it. So I cannot recommend Kartra because I just don't know. And,
right.
And if it breaks down or a thing doesn't happen or it crashes or you lose your emails because they're still kind of working through it, there's that risk. There's that risk because they're new out in the game. But I know also like Steven has checked out Drip. Drip is fairly new. Doesn't have all the bells and whistles of Kartra or of Entreport. But I've heard and I've been looking at that. I don't know much about it. Kartra, I'm going to keep my eyes on, Shalva. And hey, look, if you get a great deal like it's, you know, where you get a full year for $500 or something like that, you know, you can always try it. That's how I tried Kajabi and worked with it for a while. So the main thing that I worry about is too much. The one-stop shop makes it really hard for you to kind of pop out and then switch over to like an Entreport or Infusionsoft, but it can still happen. It's not a problem to do that. So let's say you limit out on what Kartra does. You could keep Kartra for certain stuff and then have Infusionsoft or Entreport to manage more your database.
Right. And I think maybe now that you're saying all that, maybe that was kind of my question kind of lingering was, okay, if you switch over to something like, and I'm not saying ClickFunnels, but Kartra is kind of in the same vein in terms of
website.
You don't really own it, you know, right? It's like when you stop paying your fee for that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Keep going. So yeah, you don't own, right. It's like you don't, sometimes having a couple of programs that give you flexibility is better than a one-stop shop. One-stop shop is always easier, but it means that the feature set is more limited.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So I'm, you know, longer term, if some of you are really thinking about multiple courses and really building a big part of your business is online learning, then you're probably going to find yourself toward Infusionsoft or Launch Report. Because they're going to keep adding to that and making that easier. But the visual campaign builder and the way that I can put automated sequences and stuff, that's just not there. But for all of you launching, I think easier is better to get going and then say, okay, a year from now, where are we? And do we like this? And do we want to, okay, now we may need a slightly different version of how our platform is. So there is flexibility, and it's getting easier and easier to move stuff, right? Where the companies make it really easy. My whole email list moves from Kajabi into Infusionsoft, and that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of easy ways to do that.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. And Kartra, April, for everybody, if you want to check out Kartra, it's with a K. It's Kartra.
Yeah.
So Kartra with a K. New on the block. I used Webinar Jam for my launch this year, and frankly, I had a lot of problems with it. So it was a bummer. I had one of the webinars I ran. I think I did 10 live webinars. I don't know if you guys knew that, but so that there was all these different dates, and one of them was we had 80 people on it, and the whole thing crashed.
Oh wow!
It just crashed. The whole thing went down. We tried to boot it up. We did get it going, and then there was only like 20 out of the 80 that stayed on. And like we put a ticket in, why is this happening? Why does crash? It's like, we don't know. So, and so ironically, this is where like Zoom, where they've had literally, I don't know, $200 million investment in Zoom, it's been rock solid for me. So, so I'm pretty, I have to be pretty careful that if I'm teaching about this stuff and I'm delivering on it, I got to make sure it's pretty solid.
Totally, no, I appreciate that.
So that's the hard part. If you're doing online and you get into a platform that has some wonkiness or whatever, but try it out. Do you know what the deal was to get in? Did you look at like the special?
Right now, I think they're giving. it's $89 a month for everything.
Right.
And it's based on how many subscribers you have. Okay. And that's kind of their. I don't know if they have a deal, but that's their
standard price.
You can check it out for 2 weeks for $1, and then you're in their system. So
thank you, Shalva.
Yeah. Did you want me to read my
if you'd like to.
Sure. Yeah. I've been playing around with the little headline thing that was suggested in our last call. So it's changed a little bit. So actually some feedback would be great. So right now, for those who don't know, I'm teaching a course for women who are in the spiritual vein, yoga goers, that kind of person, who want to begin leading women's circles in their own community, and making perhaps a little money doing it. So the title is Guide Your Tribe. I don't know if I want to type this in or not. Guide Your Tribe is the title. And then right now for the subtitle, I have How to Facilitate Powerful Sacred Circles That Women Love.
Say that, how to facilitate powerful
sacred circles that women love.
Great. Okay. And then your headline?
And then my headline is a two-parter. The first line is gain the knowledge and confidence you need to step into feminine leadership. Gain the knowledge and confidence you need to step into feminine leadership.
And part two headline. And just by the way, for everybody knows, she's chosen this idea of a 2 headline approach, kind of 2 sentences, right? So that's an option.
Yeah, and they're kind of very separated and very distinct within the actual sales page.
Yeah.
And then that second line reads, discover how to lead powerful women's circles and facilitate lasting transformation in the lives of your soul-centered tribe and create financial abundance as a feminine leader.
Great. Well, yeah, first of all, I love it. And I've seen this before as you've shared it. And I love it. How do you feel about it? Like,
good. It's again, like you were saying, it's the creative process, and I've been kind of fine tuning. And I think I must have plugged in like 50 different subtitles into this little headline thing, kind of get into the 70-80%, and so I don't know. Like I go back and forth on the subtitle, and I don't know that it's 100% there.
What did you have for your title? Did you have Lead Your Tribe at some point too? And did
you guide Your Tribe? You'd suggested something else that didn't quite work for what the actual coursework was. So Guide Your Tribe is I feel pretty solid on that part.
I like it. I just didn't know. I can't remember if you tested two different ones at all, or if
I haven't, and that was kind of like a divine thing, you know. It's like guide your tribe, done. You know, it's like, you know, sometimes you have that come through.
I love it, and it's what a great brand, and what a great brand to build off of, and to, you know, to TM if you can, and to, you know. So
absolutely. And I do have a question around it, and it kind of goes back to module 1 or 2 when we were talking about, you know, you use Fast Track as your example of kind of selling 2 programs at once.
Yes.
And so my brand is Feminine Enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
And this course is kind of the intro course into this whole, you know, process or package that I'm offering. That's a much deeper program.
Yeah.
So the way that I've outlined it right now, that I'm not quite sure how to figure it all out, and it's probably a deeper conversation than right now, but what I've done is kind of what Evolving Wisdom did, where they write on the top, you know, Feminine Enlightenment Presents at the very top of the sale page.
Right.
Just to put in their head that it's connected.
Yes.
You know, that it's, does that sound?
Is that your brand? Is that
it is.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's the way to do it. I think there's going to be a lot in this. I wouldn't use this intro course to then pile on another, like to have another, because you got to create the offer in there for even that other thing. Because remember,
right.
Fast Track had that whole section that was selling Fast Track. So I absolutely think this is a perfect segue into that classic, here's my intro course, and then I'm going to promote the longer experience coming out of it.
Don't do it together.
Don't do it together. Don't do it together. The only thing you might want to add is an upsell on the page or an upsell in the cart for some coaching.
Yeah.
Just a 2-session coaching package for $99, you know, whatever you want. And they can just add that if you really want that like touch, or if you have other people that can do that with you. But be careful, that's not scalable, right?
Right.
We want you to have 300 people in your course, and if you got to deliver on that.
Exactly.
So ultimately, you want to train other women to be coaches and facilitators around this. And when you have that, you can start building that into your courses where they are the ones doing the facilitation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Cool.
I love it. So the only thing, how to facilitate Sacred Circles Love. So what was the first headline, the shorter one?
The shorter one. Let me go back here and see if I can pull that up for you real quick. I think I've got it right here.
That was one I was just trying to make sure that you didn't overwhelm at the top.
Yeah. The one that you loved, or that you said was good, was the Guide Your Tribe was Leading Sacred Circles That Transform Lives.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That was your favorite. That was shorter.
Yep.
And I felt like Transform Lives was a little too vague. Like it felt like it was like, okay, it felt a little like artificial for me. Like it wasn't quite hitting the. And
that was for the subtitle though. That was not the
second. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. That was the second subtitle, which I still like. And I'm even saying that when we look at this subtitle, how to facilitate, I would almost just drop as a subtitle, the how to just facilitating powerful sacred circles that women love. Just get rid of the how to there as a subtitle.
Mm-hmm.
Or I liked that. I would, if you haven't got feedback, the one you just read to me as a subtitle and this how to facilitate, get feedback, like send that out to not just on the Facebook, but to who you think your avatar is, and get them saying one or the other, not feedback. Which one do you like? Just like a total poll, and see what lands with your avatar more there. I think both are fine. I would just drop the how to, and then, but their headline, that was the next one. You had 2 headlines, Discover, and then the other one. What was the other shorter headline?
Okay, hold on. You mean the second one?
Well, you had the second one was the long one.
The first one. So the one right after, it's gain the knowledge and confidence you need to step into feminine leadership.
So I think to me that feels like the Discover one should be above that. And then even what you just read there could easily be in your copy. I don't know if it's strong enough to do as a second headline. I mean, but what you tend to do is when you add more that isn't really important, then it just the mind is just starting to get a little overwhelmed.
Okay.
So just see how important that one is. That's because the Discover one kind of has everything in it. And it's a little bit long because it adds that little piece about making, possibly making money at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so just think about that, and so in this case, you have such great title, subtitle, and even that headline, the Discover headline. You may not need the other one.
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you. Awesome.
I just wanted
any feedback. Yeah, feedback from the group. Forgot that.
Well, first off, it's inspiring to see what you're up to. And I was actually just going to share that I can appreciate you are like way ahead of the game. So I just want to honor the fact and go, oh my gosh, that's great. And I was actually going to comment, just share one other separate thing. So I'll pause on mine until if there's other people who want to give more feedback.
Okay. Thank you, Laura. Yeah. And is there anybody that has some quick pithy feedback for Shalva on this? Like anything you would offer? Good. Great. Awesome. Great work, Shalva. Yeah, really excited for you. It's super solid. So it's just fine tuning and refinement as you get more feedback from your. So for all of you, the final fine tuning is not you. It's not even your partner, your friend. Your final tuning is going out to who you think your avatar is and getting feedback. Sometimes early on that can be a little confusing. So like Shalva has it's solid, and now she has a couple of options. I want her to go back to her avatar specifically, nobody else, and get the feedback from them. And the easiest way, guys, is having them pick things. Don't have them do some long feedback. Do you like this one or do you like this one? Do you like this headline? Do you like this headline? And it's the best way. Let them go with their instinct. Take 3 seconds, pick it, and then let them trust their instinct on that. That's the best way. Great work. All right, I think just coming back, Gary, I saw a quick thing here. Did you want to share, Gary, a little bit about I don't see your camera on, but do you want to share? You just said something, modifying the title, enhance or enhancing neuroflow. Are you there, Gary? Okay, why don't we come back to you, Laura? I'm looking at the chat. There's a lot here. Did anybody have something they wanted to ask in the chat, or like a question that they put in the chat? I'm just going down here. I think you could have. No, got it. So Laura, you're up. What do you got? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Laura.
Muted. Okay, there. What I just realized was I have really followed your advice about not moving ahead until you really nail. So I'm literally, I've been following all the content, but I've not been moving ahead past module. So that sort of modeling, I finally just have really dove into the modules itself. And what I came to realize because of your advice was it's so much more powerful. And I'm realizing as I've been reading everything else, how much everything flows from that core content. And so one thing I did, and I'm happy to share this, is I actually created a template for the modules that had the headers on the top and the modules like 1 through 7. And it was a way for me to start organizing my thinking around looking at research. And I have like a column on the right-hand side about research and other key notes that it just was a way that I sort of struggled with how to start thinking about like really grabbing this content and not just doing it line by line like you had in the other ones. And I don't know, I worked around mind maps and all this other stuff because my brain works differently. But if it's helpful, I can either, I'm not sure where to post it, or I can just forward it to you and you can share it and just I'm appreciative of finally having that breakthrough. Thank God. So
great. Yeah. Well, thank you. Is that in an Excel spreadsheet, or what format is it in?
It's in a Word doc. I went to Excel at first, and then I was like, no, I really don't need numbers on this one. So I decided to just do it in Word and in a legal size horizontal, and just had it so that I could see the flow and really looking at core bullet points that I want to make sure for lessons learned. And just because my brain, I'm always thinking about what's the outcome I'm trying to give, so that what can they do with it?
Right.
And I wanted to make sure there was a flow there.
Well, just share that on WordPress. I mean, on Facebook. Yeah, just share that there. That's great. And you can attach a document in there to share that. So go ahead and do that. That'd be great. If you wanted to just put it up in a Google Doc or something like that, do you know how to do that? And then share the link, and you can just make that a view only, but people can download it. That also makes it really easy, and it's always there in the link. So if you can do that, that's the easiest way. And I can do it. If you can't do that, you can send it to me and I can do that.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's so great that there's so many different ways that people learn, process the information, organize the information. So what you've done for you works for you, and it may work for some other people too in the course in terms of how you've organized it. So that's great. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and then is that, do we have, so let's go to Susan, and then so Susan, yeah, you'd like to share.
I would, thank you.
Yes.
So my audience is nonfiction authors who've written a book and done some marketing or haven't done any marketing, and it's sort of gathering dust, and they're very disappointed that they spent all this blood, sweat, and tears to produce a book that hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
So I created something that I call the CPR formula, but I know that Kyle, you don't like that as a title. And
so, I love it. It's cute, but it's a tough one.
It doesn't mean anything, I know.
Yeah.
So I changed it to Author Marketing Mastery, and the subtitle would be Breathe New Life into Your Book to Increase Your Reach, Impact, and Income. And as you said, I did borrow that from you.
Yes. That was your subtitle? Was that your subtitle? Can you say that again?
Yeah. Breathe new life into your book to increase your reach, impact, and income.
To increase your increase your reach, impact, and income. Great. Impact and income. Okay, so that's what it looks like. So author marketing mastery, breathe new life into your book to increase your reach, impact, and income. And then did you have a headline? Did you create a headline?
I did. Discover a proven step-by-step formula to revitalize your book, to direct your message to the market. And it's a bit long, to become a known recognized authority, to become known as a recognized authority. Should I read that again?
Yeah, read that again so I can take it in.
Discover a proven step-by-step formula to revitalize your book, to direct your message to the right market, to become known as a recognized authority.
Good, that's good. Yeah, that feels like it needs a little tightening up. And,
it does. It does.
And a lot of your
I need your help with that.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, that sounds good though. Well, let's talk about your title and subtitle, and then you can kind of work on the headline more. Author Marketing Mastery. Is this going to be a 7-week course?
It is a 7-week live online course.
Okay, great. And will they have the tools, and with your CPR formula, to feel like you're delivering some level of mastery in the 7 weeks if they are your A students?
I believe so. That's my intention. Yes.
Because it's best practices for those that have, sell hundreds of thousands of copies of books, right?
I'm not promising that, because I want to direct them into a niche market and not rely on the sales of the book, but rather on penetrating a niche market so they can become known as an expert within that market, so that they don't rely on income from the book, but rather from like speaking gigs or coaching and training.
Okay, got it. That's right. We've talked about this. So that at some level, and I think it's a little bit hinted in your headline, but that is the crux of what you're doing, has to make it somewhere in the headline more clear, because author marketing mastery for most people is thinking, how do I then start selling tens of thousands of dollars of my book, or tens of thousands of copies of my book? And what you're saying, which I love, is it's all these other pieces around it that have you positioned as an expert, that get you more opportunities to speak and do other things, right? So that the marketing is broader than that. And maybe that's what you're saying, is this is author marketing.
Rather than book marketing, because it isn't book marketing. I want the author to be the person. Often they hide behind the book, and we need to bring them out from behind the book, because the book is a tool, as you know, to get them in the door.
Right.
And as as a published author, that I want them to get that. They want prominence in their industry. From the surveys I've done, many of them want that.
Yeah, so I like it. So I like the title. I really like what you've got, is Author Marketing Mastery. So I say for now that's done, because I think it aligns with what you're saying. You get to differentiate what you mean by author marketing in your copy, start talking about that versus just book marketing. I think that's powerful as you start writing that first top copy. Breathe new life. I like the breathe new life into your book, increase your, but there might be something that you need to do to pull in just what you showed me or just what you told me is about deepening your expertise. Or so instead of just increase reach, impact, and income, again, that tends to point more toward more numbers of books and rather than a deepening of you as an author, as an expert in a niche. So that could be a good default, just what you're saying, increase your reach, impact, and income. But there's something that's niggling at me that could be reworked to what you've just said to be more clear.
Okay, and I see what you're saying, because I'm saying here, breathe new life into your book. But
exactly.
If I'm breathing new life into your book, then it's not you that is increasing your reach, impact, and income. It's the book. And
yes. So
you want to get away from that.
Here's the word I'd like you to think about using, which is leverage.
Okay.
Leverage your book to boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. Leverage your book to become an expert in your field so that it increases the growth of your business and the impact of your message. See what I'm saying? So it's, you still need to say book, although author tells you plenty, but I think there's a leveraging that you're selling and talking about and that you're wanting to say is that, look, if you follow this formula, you're going to leverage your book in a way that doesn't mean you sell tens of thousands of it, but you're going to have more success with it as an expert. Okay. So that, and then your headline, somebody did make a comment here too, which I think is important, is that even in your headline, it doesn't have to be in your title or your subtitle, but your headline should talk about nonfiction, because especially if you're only working with nonfiction.
Thank you for that.
So something about discover how as a nonfiction author too, or for your nonfiction works, that kind of thing. So, I think your headline should focus on now unpacking more of what you just told me about, discover a proven formula of how to find your niche to blah, 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 blah. So you got to kind of use the headline to unpack why you're different. You're not just like all the others. Here's how to market your book. Here's how to market your book. I'm going to show you a system that markets all of you, which includes your book. It creates that. I'm going to show you how to create a very specific niche with you in your book so that you can become seen as a known expert, which you had that as the end of your headline. But I just would like you to make sure that's really clear, not too complicated, but the headline, somebody gets it, that, oh, it's not just my bookmark. She's really going to help me figure all this out. So play with that a little more.
Okay. Just be interested also from the group. I was staying away from the word niche just because I'm not sure that it's either overused or people don't really understand it. Can I get some?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know what you mean by niche, but when you start writing your copy, I agree. You may want to try some things about finding your authentic audience, your real audience, or the true audience.
That's why I put the right market.
The right market or the right audience is good too. So audience means everything, who I'm speaking to, who I'm writing to. So you may want to just talk about audience, because then you can unpack that. Is you have an audience for your book, but you'll also have an audience for your spoken word. You'll have an audience for your speeches. All the other things you might teach is, do you know your audience well? And that's just a better way than saying avatar and a better way than saying niche that people don't understand yet.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's fabulous feedback. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. And then like Elida and Reed talked about recognized as an expert, reputation. So there's some good words. So, make sure you save this chat by hitting the more before we signed off. So do you see
how do I do that?
There's a little more button at the bottom of the chat window, and there's a little arrow. Click on that and it says save chat, and that will save the chat to your computer as well.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Do you see that? And click it. Save it. Yeah, great.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Title head. Okay, great. So we got a little bit of time. Thank you. Beautiful. Well done. I'm so proud of you for that, changing the title and going away from CPR. Author marketing, that sounds really good. So I'm happy for you on that. All right, let's wrap up with Thomas and Bobby. let's go, you guys. You guys got some, you got a reworked title, headline, and title, subtitle, and headline. You're up, and we'll wrap with you guys. I can unmute you if you're having a hard time. Oh, whoops. Sorry, we're fighting each other. No, go ahead. There we go.
There we go. So you gave us some really good feedback on the first time that we gave you our title, subtitle, and our headline.
Great.
And we've wrestled with it off and on, and we just completely threw that stuff away and started again. So here's
good, great.
Here's our next effort.
Okay, so the original was the book title, which is Parachutes for Parents, and you didn't understand that, and so we, we're kind of even rethinking the book title. But the thing we're trying to do, we've come up now with parenting on purpose or parent on purpose.
Okay.
I'm still feeling unfulfilled by that because I think what I'm trying to say, and I don't know how to say it, is we want parents tend to be reactive in parenting, and they wander into problems and then regrets, and the problems multiply as they wander because of the errors they're making that they don't anticipate making. So I'm trying to get a hold of something about getting awake and conscious, as well as parenting on purpose. So this is not an area of comfort and skill for me. So.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I mean, and at some level, when you know the content you need to teach, you just want a catchy title, because remember, there's so much more that you're saying, because then you have a subtitle, you have a headline, and then you have all this copy for people to really get related to what you're saying. So I wouldn't stress too much about getting just the right set of words. And I think you're on the right track with purposeful parenting or parenting on purpose.
There is a purposeful parenting slot out there that's been used, and we want people to parent on purpose, and then tell them why in our subtitle. And
yeah, that's great. I think you're on the right track versus Parachutes for Parents, what that was. And so people are throwing in some things here like proactive parenting. It's a little more clinical, but it's got a nice ring to it. I don't know if that's anybody's using that. Does that land with you, Bobby, of just kind of more proactive to?
So let us give you the rest of the.
Yeah, please go ahead.
You see what's
subtitle. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Creating new confidence, certainty, and clarity in your ability to parent lovingly, effectively, and consistently.
Is that your subtitle? Because if that's your subtitle, that's really long. Is that what you're considering your subtitle?
Right.
Okay, say that again, though, and we'll see if we can bring it down. So creating
new confidence, certainty, and clarity in your ability to parent lovingly, effectively, and consistently.
Okay, so that's all a great part of that should be more in the headline, and I'm sure you have a headline too, but those are key words that I think are better used at the second part of a headline. Go ahead and do your headline now, just so I can feel that.
Discover the simple but powerful parenting steps necessary in your parenting for the healthy, social, emotional, and intellectual well-being of your child and harmony in your home.
Okay, great. So the confidence, certainty, and clarity, all that, you've kind of, instead of putting that in your headline, you've moved that to your subtitle, which you could do. I mean, let's stay with the subtitle for now, because that's going to impact the headline, right? Like, again, this is a flow. We kind of play with the pieces, then we get really clear on the title, get really clear on the subtitle, and then that forces what do we need to say in the headline. So subtitle, so creating new confidence, certainty, and clarity in your parenting, right? And then something else after that?
In your ability to parent lovingly, effectively, and consistently.
Okay. So we can't have too many words. You can't have 3 words, pointer, and then a little break, and then 3 more words for your subtitle. So what's most important? What if you had 2 words out of that, or maybe 3 out of all of it? What are the 3 most important words or concepts for this subtitle?
Well, the big thing that comes from our avatar was this lack of confidence and not knowing and not being certain of what to do and doing it anyway and then sticking with it. And it's that sort of tender ground that they're stepping on that they're just not certain. That seems to be the overwhelming thing, and they don't know where to get the information.
Okay. Do you feel like what you're teaching though is a model of creating certainty for parents, or is it, you know what I mean? Like, is that a little bit of a red herring to be telling them that if you take this course, you're going to all of a sudden have all this certainty as a parent?
What we're really, they do get certainty, but they're getting it through the loving style.
Yeah.
Being able to stay loving even in the midst of discipline. See, most parents choose between discipline and love, and that's the problem. They're swinging back and forth.
I would say, Bill, take another swing at the headline, the subtitle, to make it shorter and focus on confidence, and then either clarity or certainty, whatever you think. I mean, there's certainly something about being more clear as with parenting techniques and approaches, but there's something really a little nervous for me to say certainty. You know, they want certainty. Of course, they're saying that, but you teaching them that you will have after 7 weeks all this certainty as a parent, I don't know, it feels a little off. They'll have the skill set and maybe new tools and all that. So think of something that goes with confidence. Maybe it's just confidence in loving. So you've got to shorten all that you wrote to a couple of key words that really land for your avatar rather than the laundry list of words. Okay?
So creating confidence and clarity in your ability to parent.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly. That's much better and closer, but we'd have to say, is it creating it? So is there a better word like embodying it? Is it more like living it? Living, you're living your parenting with clarity and confidence and love, I don't know, but just keep it no more than about 9 words if you can. And you're right on the right track with what you just said. And then it's sort of, you need to go back to the title to say, are we going to go with something like proactive parenting? And that might, if you don't, you might use a word like, being a proactive, loving, and confident parent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you start weaving in. So I like the direction you're going. I'm glad you guys were willing in the creative process, like so often the creative process, kind of just let go of what you had. And this feels much more on track, guys. So I just want you to know that. I'm really excited. This is now just fine tuning, going back to some people to get feedback, some parents, and really, I'm kind of liking parenting on purpose or even proactive parenting. So those are some ones to build off of if you want to think about your title and then shift it into your subtitle.
Yeah, the idea of purpose for us is that really is what we want them to be able to do, is to know that what their purpose is and they're doing it on purpose rather than what they think is just the way they should do it.
Then great, and I'm sad to hear purposeful parenting is taken, because I almost like that better than parenting on purpose. But if you don't want to, if there's an active site and there's a lot of stuff around that, a book even, then I would avoid that. And parenting on purpose sounds good to me.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great job, guys. Really, yeah. Let's give you some kudos there. And I know we're over time. Thank you all for all your comments and questions and feedback, and for those of you that stayed on. Good luck with all your creative work and enjoy it. For those of you who are coming to retreat, I think that's our next thing that we'll be seeing each other. And so be well out there, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Ciao. Thanks, everyone. Bye.